Okay, let's go.
Hi everyone, I think that we are live. I'm going to let everybody tell us how we are sounding as we get started. So I'm going to talk, but it's not going to be the real important stuff just yet. I'm Chelsea, and I'm here with Executive Winemaker of Ferrari-Carano Wines, Sarah Quider.
Hello.
This is the third time that Sarah and I have sat here in the library tasting room inside, or not tasting room, but the library room within the Villa Fiore tasting room at Ferrari-Carano. Sarah, why don't you talk a little bit so that they can hear your volume?
Okay, I'm Sarah Quider from Ferrari-Carano Vineyards and Winery. I've been here, 13 years now? Since 2003, so 14 now already. I love my job. I love working for Donna Rona Carano. We're a family-owned winery in Hillsburg, California, and in the middle of Dry Creek Valley, and it's beautiful wine country in Sonoma County. So if you ever come up, it's absolutely gorgeous. Come on up.
I think you need to be louder, I'm getting.
Okay.
I probably need to be softer. It's going to be a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're running out of a minute. We're going to just wait a minute.
So right now in wine country, it's spring, and we are. If you've ever been out to the winery, we have quite a few flowers that bloom. We have gardeners that come, master gardener clubs that come out and check out the design and the beauty of the planting of the flowers that they plant every year here. We have thousands of tulips that usually bloom in March, which are gone, but now they're getting ready for the summer flowers. They're doing the petunias getting planted and overhauling the floral design. It's absolutely stunning out here.
So it is. I was actually just telling a friend of mine that I was here up at the winery 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, and there were a couple of violets, but the main flowers planted all in the gardens were not violets yet. And I always say that it's kind of like Disneyland, where you just go, they're always fresh flowers in bloom, they're always beautiful, it's something new to see. You could honestly come here every week and you would notice something I do.
Different. I've noticed different trees bloom, different shrubs. The rhododendrons right now are going nuts. They're gorgeous. So a lot of spring trees, the flowering trees are in bloom as well. So it's quite beautiful.
And a little intense if you have allergies, which I do a little bit, so I'm sorry if I sound a little congested. That said, my nose is ready to taste today.
Oh, come on, we can do that.
So I wanted to just talk a little bit before we get into these wines about some big news for Sarah. Sarah is, Santa Rosa is just 15 or 20 minutes south of here, and Lake Sonoma is in northern Sonoma County, just like 5 or 10 minutes north of us. And that's the new home for Ironman's West Coast home and the Ironman 70.3, which is the half. Sarah is participating.
I've been training since January, so swimming, 1.2 mile swim, 56-mile bike ride, and then a half marathon, which is a 13-mile run. So the reason why we signed up, friends of mine, it's beautiful here. It's wine country. To ride and swim and run through this area, it's stunning. And I think it's half the time you're just in awe of the beauty of where you're training and competing against. But it's so much fun. It makes you feel healthy and strong, and it's just, I love it. Feels great.
None of that sounds fun to me, but it is absolutely amazing. I think it is so impressive, and just I don't know how you manage to do so much in the way of winemaking, and you're a mom, and you are training for Ironman right now.
But I like being busy.
You have the fullest plate of almost anyone I know.
I have fun though. I enjoy it.
And it comes through. You always seem radiant, like you're enjoying every moment of life.
I try at least, not all. You got me on a good day. There's always, everybody has those moments where you're like a little tough, but definitely running and exercising is a release for me on some of the pressure that I do put on, and it feels like an outlet of problem solving. I do a lot of problem solving and kind of, thinking of what needs to be done with the wines. I'll go for a 5-mile run and I'll think, oh, I want to do that and this, and it's kind of an outlet, so I love it.
So you have Sarah's athleticism to thank for the care that she's putting into the wines. And we have 4 wines today, which is more than we sometimes have, so I think we should probably dive right in.
Okay.
We called our tasting today Spirit of Spring, foremost because these wines are really lovely, sippable wines.
Easy drinking, fruity, fruit-forward wines that are, I think when you're out on the weather starts to warm up and you're outside and enjoying a barbecue or an appetizer out on the deck, I think these wines would be great. So let's start with the Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
Sound good?
And while you pour the Pinot Grigio, I'll just say, so we chose Spirit of Spring as the name too because we were initially, before we added in our bonus wine from Lazy Creek Vineyards, a smaller winery owned now by Ferrari-Carano, we were going to be pouring, the other 3 wines in the lineup are from Ferrari-Carano's.
No.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I didn't notice that I always forget that when you do a tasting at Ferrari-Carano, you get a different and appropriate glass for everything. So if we had a red Pinot Noir wine with us today rather than just the rosé, it would have its own
To me,
glass.
it's when you have red wines, you like the oxygen to open up the wine a little bit, and so there always seems to be a little bit broader in the the goblet part of the glass, so it just opens up the aromatics of the wine. So that's what I was trying to do.
I appreciate it. So Spirit of Spring, do you want to just talk about that? The wine families at Ferrari-Carano, all of the Spirit of Spring wines are available in national distribution. Mm-hmm. The rosé is brand new.
The rosé, this is our very first vintage of our rosé of Sangiovese, which is exciting. It's kind of like an Italian. So Don and Rhonda Carano are Italian, second generation Italian heritage, and Don Carano's family is from Genoa, Italy. So it's kind of like an Italian kind of theme. So we have the Pinot Grigio, which is grown in Italy, the Sangiovese, a rosé, and then the Siena is a Sangiovese Malbec blend. So it's kind of like an Italian thread of our wines. The Pinot Noir is actually grown in Italy as well, but this is something that we purchased, and it's a fun, just because it's spring, it's kind of, we've included it in. So, because rosés are great right now. It's like nice and bright and crisp with the warm weather. It's fantastic.
Rosé weather. I mean, I drink rosé throughout the year, but I feel like rosé weather hits after, especially we got rain that we really needed in California, but it was a lot of it and a lot of gloom. And I have friends all the way north of here in Humboldt County and Portland and Seattle, and it's just been gray. So we finally got sun, and it's been kind of a blessing for everybody after a long, gloomy onslaught.
Yeah, we've had up to 70 inches here in Hillsburg, which is 70 inches. We normally get around 28 to 30, so 70 inches is over double than what we are averaging. So big year of rain for us in California, which we needed it. We've had a drought.
Yeah, 3 really tough, low rain years.
So it's what we needed. It just seemed like a lot all at once. Could have spread it out a little.
Yeah. So by the way, for those of you at home, and thank you so much, we have a really big group of phenomenal people, a lot of people who have done these tastings with us online before, and so some returning veteran online tasters, and then a few people who are new to us who are joining us, and we are absolutely thrilled to have you all. The order that we're going to be tasting in is what you see here. We're starting with the Pinot Grigio. We will move into our 2 rosés and then finish with our red, the Siena. Okay. And if you're tuned in at home with or without the wines just because you are curious and you also have questions for Sarah, if you're not one of our official digital mavens joining us, then you are also welcome to use our hashtag FC Spirit of Spring, and we will see your questions and we will enjoy them.
Sounds good.
And Sarah will try to answer them all within the next 45 or so minutes.
Okay, looking forward to it.
So,
You want to start? Our first one?
Yeah, I will say Jeff Kralik, Drunken Cyclist, has a question for us. He says, the Pinot Grigio is very nice. Can you speak to why there's so much crappy Pinot Grigio out there?
Well, I'm just going to talk about what we do here. I feel like we really put a lot of focus in our Pinot Grigio. So we have 2 Russian River vineyard sites, and it's a cooler growing area for Pinot Grigio, which you need cool growing areas because it's you want to retain the natural acidity in the grapes. I love to express that. If it was too warm, we'd lose it all, and it'd be a really flabby, watery, Grigio. So having a nice, cool region has that brightness and the acidity and the lemon and the apple characteristics. So we have it comes in. I know some people don't realize this, but Pinot Grigio is actually made with red grapes. So we bring in the red grapes and we whole cluster press the fruit, and you only get the free run juice out of the grape juice, and then you leave the pressed wine separate. So it's only the free run juice that comes off of the grapes, and you don't want to use the press because you'll get the pink colors. And sometimes that's why you get some Pinot Grigios out there that tend to have a tint of the salmon, a very light hue, and that's from the skins that are naturally occurring from making white wine from a red grape. But what we do with the wine, we have really nice long cold fermentations on the fruit once it's in the tank, and it probably lasts maybe 10 to 15 days, a nice long cold fermentation. Once it's done fermenting, we rack it to another tank, and we take some of the light lees of the yeast, and then we stir the lees in the tank once a week. And the idea of that is trying to break open some of the yeast to give you roundness and body on the wine, so you get more creamy, and it's all those fatty acids and glycerols and manoproteins and all these things that come out of the yeast that's in the cell wall and in the cytoplasm of the yeast, to where you get more structure and body of our Pinot Grigio. I don't know if everybody does that, but I know what we do. So.
I think that's the most generous way to answer that question, is to say, here, you like ours, here's what we do.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody doesn't do that out there. We are getting some really lovely compliments from those at home, and they're very much echoing how I felt about this wine. I've had Pinot Grigios that showed me from Italy and the States that it can be a really beautiful wine that is just like sort of just complex enough to be sippable, where you don't have to think about it, but refreshing, and with that grip still, that gives it, enough body but enough acidity. Like, it can be lovely, but there are the ones that kind of taste like Pellegrino in a bad way. They just kind of nothing.
I've had some light ones out there as well, and I always try other brands as well.
And I was really stunned when I first tasted this by how delicate and fruity the flavors are, by how much body there actually is, and how incredibly good it is with food. One of our friends, George Perry, was kicking things off today before our tasting got started. He had it with a chicken ramen.
Oh, really?
And I felt like that was such a nice idea.
I love this with oysters. I'm a big fan of oysters, so like some Kumamotos, or my favorite is oysters with Pinot Grigio. It's my favorite pairing. So.
That sounds
or
really
even
nice,
like a shrimp pasta or salmon or something like that. Yeah.
When I did so there are tasting experiences. This is a nice point to talk about this. There are tasting experiences that you can have when you come to the tasting room that are privately hosted. So you go into the Enoteca, which is beneath us right now, the kind of fancier sit-down tasting room, and you can do a matchmaker tasting where there are chef-paired 4 items and 4 wines, and then usually a 5th sort of dessert surprise. And the last time that I did this, it opened with like a sort of Thai shrimp noodle salad with peanuts and a lot of lime juice, and just that like hint of like a tiny bit of Thai chili. And that was the official Ferrari-Carano pairing that they were trying. I think this was last summer, but it was
That
beautiful.
sounds amazing. And it was paired with Pinot Grigio? Yeah.
And it's a lot of the wines that you get to taste when you come to the winery aren't available in distribution. That's one of the special things about coming here, is finding things that you don't find in your grocery store in any state. But it's also so exciting to see how every wine, including the $14 bottle that you can find many places, still has so much care put into it and still has just this complexity and matchability, and seeing how the winery experience can elevate.
If you can come out, it's called the Sentiments, where you also test your palate and your nose of aromas. I love that tasting downstairs, where they'll smell roses and coffee and mocha, and they learn about the sensories, and then they give you a wine and try to have you train your nose and your olfactory. It's just so that you can learn about how to smell wine, because a lot of people will just drink wine and don't think about it. It's always about just taking a moment and just reminiscing about the flavors and thinking, what is it? Is it a fruit? What kind of fruit? Is it an apple? Is it a pear fruit? Is it a citrus fruit? And it's really fun experience downstairs that we have. So I recommend it. If you like to learn a little bit about tasting, it's fun.
And even if you are a wine expert with decades in the industry, whatever your experience with wine, it's so much fun to, like, how often do you put a lot of scent markers in front of yourself and smell the pith of a lemon next to the wine, next to peanuts or whatever, everything that you get off of the wine when somebody's curating that experience, it's fun whether you're a novice or
experienced. Absolutely.
So I'm going to tell you some things that people are saying, and I'll also give people a moment. We're going to move on from our Pinot Grigio in a minute. I'm going to taste it. I haven't tasted it today yet. We're going to move on in a bit, but tweet your last questions if you have any more for Sarah. I know she got pretty deep into the production from grape vineyard to glass, but what we are hearing is George said white peach and green apple are most prominent for him. Michelle Williams, Rock and Red blog, who does some amazing photos whenever we send wine, I will add, so thank you for those. She said that it is floral with bright stone, orchard, and tropical fruit, zesty acidity, and that it's light and refreshing. And we've got some questions, which I'll get into. Jeff wants to know how much your own food preferences affect your winemaking.
My food preferences? You know what? Okay, so I'm thinking of I would agree that it does impart some of the decision making that I make, but really, I think the main what I really strive to do is really to be consistent with a product. Like our Pinot Grigio, if you love our Pinot Grigio, what I try to do every year is I try to make the same Pinot Grigio every year, because if I keep changing it and I want to make it more citrusy or grapefruit versus the peachy and the floral, you might not like it. So I'm trying every year, regardless of what I like, I'm still striving to be consistent. Our Fumé Blanc is an example of our Sauvignon Blanc. We try to make a tropical, fruitier style of Sauvignon Blanc. And so that preference of greener flavors versus fruity flavors definitely gears you to winemaking to be consistent with a product ultimately in the end.
That just reminded me. Okay. I think because I had the wine in my mouth. Wine Swap is joining us today. Another incredible wine photographer, I might add, and also an amazing writer. Some of the most beautifully described and innovative tasting notes you'll hear. But he said that he got nice tropical notes, and he said that this wine is powdery green.
Powdery green. Okay.
Which I feel like I even got on the nose.
All right. I get a little bit of the little honeysuckle. There's a little honey flavor that's coming through for me today, and more the peach and the floral. So.
Yeah, today not having it with food and having it like just clear out of nowhere. I haven't been tasting. This is the first thing I've had in wine today. It is, the acidity feels really like almost bracing, but in a way that I love. Like it's like a wake me up wine now.
It is just 2016, so it's only a few months old. So
just bottled. I don't think I've tasted the 16.
So we bottled it in January, and it's May 4th. So May the 4th be with you. So really, it was just, not even 6 months. We were bringing it in, and it was fermenting. So that liveliness and that brightness of the, acidity and the CO2 is from fermentation, and I try to capture that so that there's the longevity in the wine that will hold when you have brightness to it. So I'm always trying to capture the essence of the vineyard in the bottle. So I hope it shows.
Feels so alive.
Yeah.
I really want to give us, I feel like there's never enough time to spend with all the wines in an hour, but I really want to get into kind of the star of our show today because it is so brand new. This is the first time we've released the Dry Sangiovese Rose.
Yeah. So this was something that Don Carano came to me in the middle of harvest, which was a little stressful because I usually like to plan. I'm a planner. And he's like, I think we should make a Sangiovese Rose. And the more I thought about it, I was like, what? It sounds actually a great idea because I think of all the varietals that you can make rosé: Cabernet, Merlot, Syrah, Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is very popular. What I like about the Sangiovese aspect of this wine is Sangiovese tends to be a high acid grape in general. The only bad thing is that it has high tannins. So when we brought the fruit in to have the skin contact, I wanted it nice and cold, and I didn't want to leave it on the skins too long. So I wanted to capture that acidity right and early in the morning, but I also didn't want to have too much skin contact to get any of the tannins to come through. And I feel like we did a really good job. I was really happy with the result. One of the vineyard blocks came in, I had a little bit too much color extracted, so the next one that came in, I backed off on that, and I think in the end it was ended up being perfect, because you do blend the vineyards together, and I was really pleased because I get the strawberry and the cranberry. I get more cranberry and cherry characteristics in the Sangiovese, and there definitely tends to be, compared to the Pinot Noir Rosé, they're very different. It's more of a cranberry cherry fruit profile that comes through on the flavors.
I can see that. This is the first time that I'm getting to talk about this wine with you. I've tasted it. Tasted it at the winery when it was first released, within days, and then I tasted it at a happy hour.
That sounds good.
On a menu with food. So, but this is the first time that I've gotten to sit and contemplate it, and also to share the experience with 17 people out in the vlog world. Just wrapping up the Pinot Grigio, Amy Riley said that the tropical nose on it sweeps you away to some romantic island.
Oh, yes, like Italy?
Which is yes, very much so. I'm studying Italian wine right now, and I learned that Italy has 1,100 miles of coast,
really?
North to south coast.
Oh, there you go.
So it's all that, I can just picture all of it when that's in my mouth. So we'd love to hear tasting notes and questions about this new wine. It is available now everywhere, which is super exciting. This is, I think, the first rosé that Ferrari-Carano's done in national distribution.
Yeah,
we've done others at the winery.
Yeah, I think it's so far the feedback has been fantastic. The people that come into the tasting room are like, wow, and it's $14. It's it's a great price point for a rosé
from anywhere in the world, really. There was a time when you got good rosés from France or Italy for just under 10, but that time has passed. You don't mostly find wines at this price point, especially not California-made rosés of quality like this. That's pretty astonishing, in my opinion.
But it's that acid and the brightness that I'm still trying to capture from the vineyard. And so this, again, it fermented just a few months ago as well, and we bottled it in January along with this, trying to capture the essence of the vineyard, the youth, and the brightness of the wine. And I hope it shows.
Well, George says that there are wild strawberries jumping out of it and a mouthfeel of watermelon.
I can see that.
And Swaff was asking, so this is not Saignée?
No, it is not. We brought in the fruit specifically for just to make rosé, and I don't know if everybody knows, Saignée is actually, if you have a red fermenter of Sangiovese, you just take off 5 or 10% of the juice, and then you just make rosé out of that 5 to 10% juice, and that's what you would be as your rosé. But we actually brought in all the fruit, and it was 100%. We left it on the skins for 2 hours as a whole, and that 2 hours is just enough time to get that color. And it was actually, when you bring it in, it's actually double, but by the time you ferment and filter the wine and put it in the bottle, it's usually dropped by half.
The shade.
So, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that he would change like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how much drops. So you always have to go darker, and it's almost like gambling with the color. You're like praying that I think that's the most stressful part about making a rosé, is trying to get the prettiest color, not too dark and not too light. So,
most Sangiovese rosés I've ever had are not this color.
Yeah, they're darker, aren't they?
Darker, a little more toward like even when they're pale, they're almost more of a fuchsia than a salmon.
Yeah,
the hue.
The red. There's red tones to it.
Yeah. So this is lovely, and to me it doesn't taste like Sangiovese rosés that I know, but it doesn't taste like in a way it tastes. It has all the qualities that I love in a rosé, but it doesn't taste like one I've had before.
Yeah, and I think that what I have a lot of Pinot rosés. That's what I generally drink. So to me, it's very different from what we're going to have next, and it's really fun to taste the difference on. The varietal really comes through, especially the flavor, the roundness to me on the Pinot. There's just a roundness and a softer, higher pH, softer acid, where the Sangiovese is just higher and brighter. And I hope that you'll see that when you try them.
Luscious Lushes. Thea said that it's spicy, floral, peppery, weighty, and perfect for burgers.
That sounds good.
It does sound good. I love rosé because I feel like it is absolutely the universal pairing agent that won't conflict with anything and often enhances.
I love rosés with cheeses.
I was just going to ask you. That was my next question. What do you eat?
Nice burrata cheese. I love just sitting there with appetizers and a charcuterie plate with some rosé. There's nothing like that. That's great. And with some good friends and family. I think it's pretty kind of special. And I like it with salmon as well. A salmon and some seafood. The rosés seem to pair pretty nicely. Shrimp. I like shrimp too. Those are my pairings for rosés.
So. Those both sound amazing. Tell us what you guys most like to pair with rosés. I know Thea already suggested burgers, but we'd love to hear from you. Doug says that it's light and refreshing with red cherry character. And then he asked whether the trend of rosé's popularity will continue, do you think?
I think so, because I think it appeals to a lot of people. I mean, I saw it. I know it's this big trend right now, but I know that people are, it's not as tart as some of, I think it's just so easy drinking and approachable and fruit forward. I think, how can that not stick around? I think it will stick around, especially through the summer months, particularly more so than the winter. I'm a summer white wine drinker, and I drink a big, nice Cabernet in the winter. I'm guilty of that. More red wines in the winter. But I think it's going to stay. I think this trend is here to stay. Not more so than the Muscat craze that was a few years ago. That kind of came and went. But I think the rosé is going to stay. Do you think?
I feel like it is, and I feel like for Ferrari-Carano, which has been around for 30 plus years, to release a rosé is Don and Rhonda's vote of confidence that it's here, that we're ready to make a rosé statement.
Yeah.
On that note, I think it was Amy asked why Sangiovese specifically for the rosé.
Mainly because of the acid, because of the bright cherry fruit that you can get from Sangiovese. I think Cabernet, you can have some herbal kind of, some greener characteristics possibly. Syrah is a possibility, but sometimes Syrah can be a little meaty, depending on where it's grown. So to me, Sangiovese is an ideal candidate for a rosé for the fruit, the cranberry and cherry characteristics. And to me, when I taste a rosé, I don't want the herbs. I don't want some of the meaty. I kind of want the fruit-forward cherry, cranberry characteristics in a rosé. So I think it kind of fit the profile for us.
Yeah, I think the minerality is, I don't know, almost a given, but then the fruit variables that you get to choose to work with are really nice here. Amy says that she likes to pair dry rosés with pork, salads, and awesome with whelks too. Thea says salmon, turkey burgers, cheeses, and fruit salad, and says brunch pairs perfectly, which I'm a huge, I'm
sounds great.
So guilty of being a brunch lover. To me, any day that includes brunch just tells my brain that it's like a weekend or vacation. Greg said salad niçoise, which I think would be really beautiful. Barbecue shrimp. And George mentioned just like burgers and hot dogs and everything on the grill.
I love the turkey burger. I love that idea. That sounds great.
I love American rosé and hot dogs. It just feels like the right thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I like my rosé dry in style like this, but if I am going to have a hot dog and I am going to drink wine, I am totally in agreement there.
I'm going to try that then.
It's delicious. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you like hot dogs, if you think hot dogs are delicious, I do. They're one of my favorite things.
I know, I'm guilty.
But think about, if you think about the qualities of ketchup even, there's not that many wines that work with ketchup, but if something was going to,
rosé wine.
I think.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try it and I'll think of you.
Okay, and you'll think of George.
Okay,
George said it before me.
Okay.
Fried chicken, Caitlin, Kate+8. Absolutely, I'm with you there. I like all the high acid, delicious, refreshing things, be it bubbles, be it rosé, with fried chicken. Those are beautiful pairings.
I see the watermelon. Do you get the watermelon and the strawberries on the palate?
Absolutely. I love that he described it as a watermelon mouthfeel. Like that it just brings that feeling to your mouth of what it's like to bite into the watermelon. So let's do our rosé comparison.
All right.
And while you open that, I can explain. For anyone who doesn't know, Lazy Creek Vineyards has been around for more than 40 years now. It's been owned by Ferrari-Carano since the
2008.
Yeah, almost a decade now, I was going to say. Yeah. Since 2008. It's the facility where Ferrari-Carano's Pinot Noir is made. And also has its own label. And they basically, besides the little Gewürztraminer, Pinot Noir is the grape that they work with.
So we have 3 vineyard sites of Pinot Noir in Anderson Valley, all in Anderson Valley, which is about an hour away from where we are here. So it's quite a ways. But it is Gewürztraminer and Pinot Noir only, and rosé. So we started making the rosé years ago, and it's always been one of the leading wines that the Pinots are the leading wines that we sell there, but a fan favorite of ours has been the rosé, because to me it's very different in the profile. I think mainly in the mouthfeel. Pinot Noir is that softer acid, so you'll right away recognize the flavor profile. Even if you smell it, it's very different in the characteristics. I get more orange blossom to me on the nose.
Oh, right away.
Yeah, it's very different, huh?
And I'm surprised again because they're almost the same hue.
I know.
Looking at them side by side, at least in the lighting that we're in right now, they look very similar in color.
No, they are. And but very different aromatics in the fruit profile as well as in the mouthfeel. This one is a smaller production and a smaller quantity. It is the same way we make, it's not Saunier, so we bring in fruit specifically to make rosé. So we're really trying to focus getting that color, pressing it gently, not getting a lot from the Pinot Noir skins, and making it cold, nice, long, cold fermentation, and then bottling it. This is a 16, a young wine as well. So but just very different profile.
So is this made, I honestly don't know the answer to this. Is this made at the Lazy Creek facility, or does it come here to be made with the whites?
It's made at Lazy Creek.
Okay. So. And so this one is kind of a special bonus for you guys. Last year, I don't remember how fast it sold out, but quickly it was gone. Mm-hmm. So it will probably be gone again. 16 wasn't a huge deal, right?
Yeah, it was average, for us. But we don't make that much of the Pinot Rosé, but it is something that we do distribute, and so you may find it at restaurants or in some specialty shops.
But not in the national broad distribution that you find the Spirit of Italy wines from Ferrari-Carano. Which brings me to a question from Swaff, who wanted to know why the traditional Ferrari-Carano label was chosen, even though this is in the Spirit of Italy family.
It was funny. They had a whole design of the Spirit of Italy with a little blue or like some of the rose gold or the rose color and more cream, but then they did a mock bottle of it, and Rhonda's like, I think I want to go with the traditional FC label, which, if you notice, it's rose gold, so it's a little different.
I had not noticed that until you just pointed it out.
So I kind of like the rose gold, and it's our normal label has the gold on it. So it was something that they ended up liking the design on this better, so they went with it, and I like it.
I love the subtle touch of the
and do you know, I don't know if anybody knows this, but this label is actually designed after a wedding invitation.
I knew that, but I don't think that we've talked about it.
So I think it's kind of neat that it's the idea was to invite you to have a nice meal with your family and friends and enjoy life, and so it's like an invitation to enjoy life. So I like it. I love that. So I always think of that as a nice, little tidbit of our label.
Mom Uncorked mentioned how good rosé in general is with antipasti.
Oh, absolutely.
The acidity in a lot of antipastis are perfect too. It was absolutely on Rhonda's mind. Rhonda being such a chef and such a entertainer herself in terms of loving to have gatherings of people and celebrate. Hospitality is a huge thing for her. And so I think that just that Italian lifestyle and Italian food being so made for wine and the wine being so made for food comes through in this product line. We have some great questions.
I want to hear the comments on this one.
We have some great questions on this wine.
Okay. Sounds good.
Jeff wants to know why the cork on the Lazy Creek and the stuffing on the Sangiovese?
Mainly because there's no screw cap machine at Lazy Creek. It's just not at that facility. It's a piece of equipment that's on the bottling line that we have at our white wine facility and our red wine facility, but not at Lazy Creek. So it's something that we just haven't done, and I would love to do it just because I love screw cap and it keeps the freshness on the wine. I love it.
I think it would be hard to accidentally let this wine fade from freshness. It's so good.
Yeah.
It would be hard to let it sit.
It won't last, will it?
Right, sit in the bottle long enough. George says orange, watermelon, and dry berries.
Okay. Yeah.
I think is a nice characteristic. And Swaff wanted to know if there's a different winemaker for the Pinot program.
Yeah, well, Christy Griffith is our winemaker for all our Pinot Noirs and our Gewürztraminer and Rosé at Lazy Creek. So yeah,
And
even though I work with her, but definitely she kind of is there day to day working with the wines.
I was actually going to ask you, we may have talked about this before, but if you could talk a little bit about, as executive winemaker, how you work with Christy, and then Rebecca, who does all the reds besides the Pinot at another facility.
Okay.
How does that relationship work?
So I have worked with Rebecca and Christy for 16 years now. Believe it or not, we are a tight-knit group of women that we kind of taste each other wine all the time. Christy moved to, she used to work with me on the white wines, and then she moved to Lazy Creek when they bought Lazy Creek in 2008, and she oversees all of the wines over at Lazy Creek with help with a woman assistant winemaker over there. And so there's 2 women winemakers there. Rebecca worked with me at the white wine facility prior to going to the red wine facility in 2 years ago, and she's worked with me and has another woman over there. So there's 2 other women, and when they both left, I promoted 2 girls within my group here that moved up. So there's a total of 7 women winemakers that make all the wines that Ferrari-Carano owns and Don and Rhonda own. And I oversee all 3 facilities, so all 6 women winemakers. So it's kind of cool that
Lazy Creek is like the swim part of your triathlon because it's the smallest case production.
Yeah.
So is the white wine facility the cycling?
Yes, it is.
And the red is the half marathon.
The half marathon, yeah. But it's like amazing because we all work so well together. And you know, if I have a cold, like, you know, hey, taste this for me, and we all kind of work together, trying to cover each other and trying to make consistent products because we've been working together for so many years. We all kind of know what we need to do to make the wines consistent, and we're a great team. I don't know what I would do without them. They're very hardworking, dependable girls. So
It's really a beautiful team. It's so just cool to see that kind of camaraderie and that longevity. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Well, it starts from Don and Rhonda. I mean, they're great people to work for, and I think a lot of people, not just in winemaking, have been here, but hospitality and sales and marketing and the Vineyard. We have 30, 20. I mean, there is a huge amount of longevity within this company, and it starts from them, Don and Rhonda, and their passion. I think that they instill their heart and soul in the winery, and we all want to do that as well.
Well, I mean, the winery itself basically started as a passion project. There's a video that you guys made recently that was on Wine Spectator about how, you know, they came here on more or less vacation, shopping for wines for their restaurant casino businesses, but they fell in love with this and started this. You know, this wasn't a first career. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the only option by any means. They were very busy people with a lot of responsibility already who said, we want a winery. Like, we love this. And that
they do. They still do. And it's their heart and soul. They really are.
It's amazing, and you can feel it throughout the brand everywhere. I think it does. I think it is contagious.
I think so.
So we've got more notes on this, and then we should move into our Siena. Thea calls this one a porch pounder.
I like that.
Which is absolutely easy to do that in summer. Swaff says that there's a meaty, dense note to this one, and that it's a little bit savory. Yes, in answer to your question, that's what we're saying. The entire wine operation is women. He says that he loves that. And I love it too. And actually, right now this winery is located in the Dry Creek Valley. The wines themselves, there's 24 different vineyard ranch properties owned by Ferrari-Carano in 6 appellations. So Dry Creek Valley is only one of the many areas that Ferrari-Carano owns grapes in the North Bay. But Dry Creek Valley has I counted that in about 65 wineries, there are, I I think at least, this was a couple of years ago, there were at least 17 wineries whose head winemaker was a woman.
There's a lot.
And that's much higher than the national percentage or the international percentage
Oh, really?
of women winemakers.
Well, we're doing all kinds. I mean, I just think that today, there's more I mean, I think in our society, it seems like you need double incomes these days, and you need two people working, and the women are doing more doctors and lawyers and chefs and pilots, all kinds of stuff. Why not women winemakers?
I think it's fantastic. Amy Corn Powell says, blood orange blossoms, honeysuckle, and hints of vanilla on the Lazy Creek Rosé. I've been saying Amy, but we have Amy,
I love that,
Riley, and Amy
blossom.
Corn Powell.
I definitely see the blood orange. It's awesome.
They're like perfume, like savory perfume. Just want to dab them. Probably shouldn't, but feels like you could. Greg calls it a manly wine, right after I said it's like perfume to me. But I could see some of these descriptors having a masculine quality. Manly wine made by 7 women.
we try.
So our last wine on the lineup today is the only one that's not a 2016 vintage. So maybe you can take a moment and talk about the vintage that all 3 of these came from.
So 2015.
This is a 14.
So part of the drought year, so a lower yielding year with the fruit profile, where we had 30 inches of rain last year in 2016. So different weather patterns. The drought year definitely led to smaller berries, smaller clusters, lower yields, and I think more concentrated, intense flavors. Not that the 16 is by any means. It's just we actually had a normal crop in 2016, where the other ones were quite a bit lighter. So to me, on the Siena, it's a Sangiovese, about 65% Sangiovese. I always forget exact percentages, but it's mainly Sangiovese, and it's fermented on the skin, so you get the bright color that comes through on the skins. But we blend in Malbec and Cabernet Sauvignon and Petit Syrah. So what I see, the high acid grape of the Sangiovese, like that cranberry and cherry, we blend with the Malbec, which I get a lot of Malbecs, more of a blueberry and kind of acai roundness body. It's softer on the palate. So those 2 main grapes, the high acid and the roundness, kind of blended together. A little Cabernet and Petit Syrah, give it a little bit of structure and oomph and tannin and body, and you blend it all together, and you've got our little Siena. So.
Jeff, I love all these questions about packaging. I'm kind of a sucker for these questions. So Jeff says, okay, why the big heavy bottle?
It's just something that I love, that it makes it more like a stronger, bigger wine. It is packaging where it makes it seem like a richer wine when you have a bigger bottled wine, and it's something that we've done. We've been in this bottle for a while, and this the label is based out of the soil in Siena in Italy. You have that red soil. We have it here in Sonoma County as well, so they kind of wanted to portray the label as the dirt and the soil of the vineyards, which I think is a neat little tidbit about the label.
It is. Do you feel like this is a super Tuscan?
And to me, I think with that, it's a rich Siena. But I think it's also got a lot of pomegranate and some bright fruit, and that's why I think it works well with the spring, spirit of spring, because I think that this is a barbecue wine to me.
Oh, yeah.
A nice barbecue, get some ribs, get some ham, some pizza or something. I think it would be a great just dinner, easy drinking, fruit forward red wine that can pair with a lot of foods for the spring.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of asking you. I feel like it has the sort of presentation and obviously the composition in terms of the breakdown of the grapes, that it is imitative of a super Tuscan from Italy, but I also feel like it's priced like something that you just want to open up any day of the week, that you can take to a barbecue. So I feel like in that sense, it's got this very sort of subtle, everyday humble character to it that I love.
And we've been making, I mean, I know red blends got really popular, but I think we've been making this wine for like 20 years. We've been making a red blend of this Siena. And it's just always been a favorite. A lot of people love this wine, and I just love the richness and the softness. The softness is always we try to make a wine that's easy to drink without the tannins. So it's not a Cabernet. To me, what I see in our Siena, it's heavier than our Pinots, but not as heavy as a Merlot or a Cabernet. So it's kind of pleases a lot of people with the palate profile. You want something not too heavy.
So is a barbecue, like you mentioned, is that your ideal setting for the Siena?
That and over pasta, Italian food. Can you imagine like pizza or pasta?
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be fantastic.
Everyone here is saying that it opens up right away, that it doesn't need time to, like, straight out of the bottle, it's just tasty. That's Kate said that, and I've seen other comments like that. We have, I lost the quote I was going to read you. Someone else said that it didn't last long. I can't remember who said it. They opened it yesterday and they like it even more today, but that it just opens up immediately and is delicious. Swab hadn't had it for almost 20 years.
Okay.
So is it a different experience for you, or is it what you remember? I want to know that from him.
Okay.
Yeah, this wine, the suggested retail is $21, and you can find it for less than twice on sale.
And we make a bit of it so where you can find this. This is probably out of all the 4 wines, you're going to find this quite more readily than the others. And I think it is an inexpensive, easy drinking red blend that appeals to so many people that you'll find it.
It's not. I've seen it on store shelves in Seattle, in the Midwest, in restaurants. Yeah. It's just priced to be something that you can pick up, and it's reliably approachable right away. But this is a 14, so it has had a couple of years before release. This is the current release.
Yeah.
I don't know when 15 comes out.
For any minute.
Okay.
So we're close, but we still have a little bit of the 14. But we do barrel age this in 20% oak, so it's got a little bit of new oak, but really 80% of the barrels that we use are really older oak barrels that we use in Cabernet and Merlot. But we don't want a lot of oak on this wine. We want a fruit-forward wine. And then we age it for 14 months, and then we bottle it, and then give it some time in the bottle before we release it. So, yeah.
So I just looked, and as always, the minutes just evaporate. We've only got 4 or 5 minutes left. I know we got started a couple minutes late, but a lot of times people really do have to go right when we hit 6 o'clock. So I want to get any last questions in right away for Sarah. Send her some good vibes for her Ironman.
Next weekend.
I want to know, do you have a goal to, you've done one before, do you have a goal to beat your time before, or are you just...
I still just want to finish. Because it's hard to put that all in one long shot. Last year I did it in 7 hours, so if I can do it, if I did it better, I'd be surprised, but I just want to finish. I just want to enjoy it and have a great time, so...
what is your oak program like on this wine?
So 20%, new Hungarian oak. So it's Hungarian oak. Which, yeah.
Oh,
so 20%. So it's really what Hungarian oak tends to be more. It's more sweet baking spices that I get. I don't know if you pick that out in the wine. It's just more like. It's not American oak. I think American oak tends to be a little bit more aggressive, and we didn't want any of the toastiness on some of the French oaks. So we're trying to go after sweet baking spices, some maple and some kind of cinnamon kind of spices that comes through on the oak.
Kim, Divine Wine Time, said she gets red berries, mocha, and integrated tannins. Everyone agrees with you on barbecue. I'm hearing Korean barbecue, tri-tip, slow-cooked barbecue with a cola marinade. I love how many cooks, professional and enthusiast we have on this tasting with us today. You got
Well, food
somebody.
and wine kind of go together.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't remember who, but one of you lovely friends out there said that you love that Ferrari-Carano is so focused on integrating food and wine.
Yeah.
I think that's so much the Italian influence.
I think so.
at play.
Yeah.
Let's see, do we have any last questions? Oh, Swaff said that he did call it a Super Tuscan. He said Super Tuscan with an American steak.
I love that.
Well, I'm definitely ready for red meat, having finished on this note. Amy Corin Power wants to know, what is your target market for the Siena?
I think it reaches a broad range. I think it can go to even some younger millennials and younger demographics because of the pricing. I think even older generations, we've made this wine for so many years that people who are older know and love this wine as well. So I think it reaches a broad range of consumers.
I'll also note actually that Amy and a couple of our other bloggers are in Texas, and to speak of barbecue,
Yeah.
I was also thinking about generation, like what age range of.
Surprising,
Jason loves
one
this.
of our biggest markets is Chicago with the steakhouses. They
Oh, that makes
sell a ton of the Siena in the steakhouses in Chicago. So yeah, it goes well with steak.
Do you know offhand, like, does it stand out that your reds do really well in Chicago and your whites do well somewhere? Or do you know, like, regionally?
It
Places
all
that
just
love
changes.
Ferrari-Carano.
It's amazing. Definitely Northern California is our Fumé Blanc. Our Pinot Grigio is popular more on the West Coast than the East Coast. The Rosé is huge in Texas. Both of them seem to be flying in Florida as well. So you kind of have different taste for the little demographics. Yeah.
So what are you going to drink? Because I know you've been mostly just tasting for your job and not enjoying wine in the way that you normally get to after a hard day's work since your training. So when you're done with your Ironman, what are you going to drink?
Champagne. You got to celebrate with champagne. So yeah, I've got a few bottles already lined up because it's such a physical endeavor to do. I have a few special bottles that I'm going to pull out and celebrate. So yeah.
I feel like that should have been my last question, but I remembered a question that I wanted to ask you. So I'm going to ask you one more, which is, do you have a woman winemaker who you admire, who's your...
There's so many though.
Or any, like what winemakers influenced you early on?
I think, I don't know if there's necessarily one particular one, because I think that what I find in wine that I like different varietals. I like that winemaker for that varietal versus this other one over there, and I try to read and research and learn, and so depending on the wine and what they're known for it's all over the board. There's so many that I admire. There's so many beautiful wines out there. I'll try anything just because I think it's always, there's such a beautiful mix of flavors and everybody makes it differently. And I think it's the beauty of wine that it's unique. So I think I will try to be in this job as long as I can because it's a passion of mine. So just keep doing it.
Well, we will be happy to have you as long as we possibly can. But I think even though you're a little older than me, I think you're going to outlive me because of your athleticism. So I'll get to enjoy Ferrari-Carano wines made by Sarah Quider and her team of amazing women.
Thank you.
Forever.
I hope everybody enjoyed the wines today. I am proud of what we accomplish and the passion and the heart and soul that is put into each of these wines. And I hope you enjoy them and have it on a barbecue on a nice spring day.
Yeah, for the wines that you didn't open up yesterday and finish today, then enjoy some tonight and save some and try them tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if you come up with other questions for Sarah, feel free to tweet them or send them my way, and we will definitely put you in touch and get those answers for you.
Absolutely.
So Saturday, toast with Ferrari-Carano or some champagne to Sarah's Ironman.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
All right. Bye-bye.